So hello and shalom, everyone. I am very excited to open our first meeting of yoga readers. This is international free yogic reading community. And the first book that we started to read on 1st of May is Light on Life by B.K.S. Iyengar. When I invited all of you to read, I did not imagine that so many people will be interested in rereading or reading together. We have more than 200 members in our WhatsApp group and more than 250 on our Facebook group. And this group is continuously growing. And I am getting a lot of good feedback even before we have started, a lot of gratitude, and that really strengthens me in this time. And I'm very, very grateful for all of you and for all of your encouraging messages. So thank you for that. So today we are starting, and I will go through what we will do. In this time between 1st of May and today is the 12th of May, we were reading the preface and the introduction of Light on Life. Everyone was reading in their own preferred language. However, the discussions here and on Facebook and on WhatsApp or Facebook are in English. And I hope that we can all use the technological tools of translation whenever we need them. In this way, we can create a global international community. I am open to more ideas about having, one idea is having discussion groups in different languages. I'm open to having more groups that are working in different languages alongside the main group, having an international or having it in English, I'm sorry. So we in Israel have a group of almost 700 members reading Light on Life in Hebrew. It's very exciting. Most of them are teachers, but many practitioners and some newcomers, some people who have never read a book about yoga, and this is their first book. And as you know, Israel is going through a difficult and complicated period for several months now. And this book gives us an ability to find an inner strength, as yoga does, I think, for all of humanity. So what we will do today is I will give a bit of background about the book, not so much about the author, not because I think all of you know him, but because he reveals his own life journey during the read. So kind of a spoiler alert. We will just go through it, and we all have maybe our knowledge about B.K.S. Iyengar's life. And as we go through the read, we will reveal more and more layers. I think every time we read a book, we read it again and we find new things in it. During the read, I sent you a chapter breakdown of these two parts and questions that can focus our reading. We will not refer to them here. We can refer to them in our Facebook group. During the close reading that we will have, participants will read out paragraphs. I don't want to read it all by myself. And then after a few paragraphs, you will stop and I will add something, some contextualization, could be cultural, could be historical, and I will explain some yogic concepts coming from Hinduism or yogic philosophy. For those of you who don't know me, I will introduce myself. My name is Agi Wittich. I am a Hungarian German living in Jerusalem, Israel. I've been practicing yoga for 2 decades, and I've been teaching Iyengar Yoga in Jerusalem. A few years ago, I finished my doctoral studies in religions, and I was focusing on Hinduism and yoga. I studied Sanskrit and Tamil. My MA thesis was about the Tirumandiram, which is a less known text. And my PhD dissertation was about Iyengar Yoga in women. So I learned a lot about gender as well. I'm also a herbalist, and I give a lot of thanks to the Iyengar tradition. The reason for choosing Light on Life, because some have asked me, why is this the book? Why do you choose this book and not perhaps more known books of B.K.S. Iyengar? Well, this book, Light on Life, is a companion to Light on Yoga, which is well known. Some even called it the Bible of yoga. And this book focuses more, as it says in the title, about life. Light on Yoga focuses more on the practical aspects of yoga, that is asana and pranayama practice. In Light on Life, we learn more about how to cultivate different aspects of yogic philosophy into our everyday lives. The book is also about Iyengar's journey of self-discovery and the insights he gained through the practice of yoga, which are, I find, very inspiring in our modern way of life. It's not that we withdraw from society into a cave and dedicate our whole day and weeks and months to the study of yoga, but that we integrate whatever we learn in practice into our lives. Iyengar shares his personal experiences, there are anecdotes, and then insights gained from over 70 years of dedicated yoga practice. Light on Yoga came out much earlier, and as some of you know, he himself had criticism about some parts that he published back then in the 60s. And besides personal stories, the book explores the yogi goal of integrating the different aspects of the self, including the body, the working of the mind and consciousness, our emotions, to achieve wholeness and harmony. So the preface and introduction set the stage for this journey, highlighting the importance of understanding the self and the role of yoga in this process. Iyengar says that yoga is not just a physical practice, but a holistic approach to well-being, but as a way of life that facilitates self-discovery. Yoga has the ability to help individuals develop greater awareness of themselves and their place in the world. And I hold that Iyengar's personal journey, including his early struggles that drove him to yoga and the insights he gained through his practice of yoga, to me, they explain more about the yogic journey. This personal touch helps readers to connect to the author and his message, making the book more relatable and engaging. So let's start the read without further ado. So the first reader is Michal. So please start. I'm going, sorry. Jump. Oh, technical issues. Sorry. Yoga was my destiny.
Sorry, I forgot to put the mute. I'll start over. I'm wondering what's happening. Okay, sorry, guys, girls. Okay, yoga was my destiny. And for the past 70 years, yoga has been my life, a life fused with the practice, philosophy, and teaching of the art of yoga. Like all destinies, like all great adventurers, I have gone to places I never imagined before I set out. For me, it has been a journey of discovery. In historical terms, it has been one of rediscovery, but undertaken from a unique perspective. Innovation within traditional boundaries. These past 70 years have taken me on the inward journey toward a vision of the soul. The book contains my triumphs, struggles, battles, sorrows, and joys. 50 years ago, I came to the West to shed light on yoga. Now, throughout this book, I am presenting half a century of my experience in order to shed light on life. The popularity of yoga and my part in spreading its teaching are a great source of satisfaction to me. But I do not want yoga's widespread popularity to eclipse the depth of what it has to give to the practitioner. 50 years after my first trip west, and after so much devoted yoga practice by so many, I now wish to share with you the whole of the yoga journey. It is my profound hope that my end can be your beginning.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry for the technical issue. You reread from the book, so that's fine, but I wanted to put it on the screen as well. So here Iyengar says that the book is based on his empirical experience. This is a very, very crucial point. Everything he writes, he felt in his own body. This is not a theoretical experimentation. It's not about the logics of Samkhya Yoga. It's not about explaining to us the Yoga Sutras or the Upanishads. This is what he actually felt in his body, and an integration between philosophical concepts and his own physical, mental, and emotional experiences over the years. So please go on. This is the part now of the introduction.
Okay, again, me.
Yes, you got
Okay, I set off in yoga 70 years ago when ridicule, rejection, and outright condemnation were the lot of a seeker through yoga, even in its native land of India. Indeed, if I had become a sadhu, a mendicant holy man wandering the great trunk roads of British India, begging ball in hand, I would have met with less derision and won more respect. At one time, I was asked to become a Sannyasin and renounce the world, but I declined. I wanted to live as an ordinary householder with all the trials and tribulations of life, and to take my yoga practice to average people who share with me the common life of work, marriage, and children. I was blessed with all three, including a long and joyous marriage to my beloved late wife, Ramanini, children and grandchildren.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ramani. So in this bit, which is loaded with concepts, he discusses three ways of life within the yogic life. One is a sadhu, the other is a sannyasin, which are very close to each other but still different, and the third is the life of the grihastin, of the householder. So I feel like I need to give a bit more of a background, otherwise we just skim through these words and don't really understand what he tries to say. So I'm putting the criticism he received apart, and he will speak of the racism he experienced in his early years later in the book as well. But a sadhu or a mendicant is a holy person whose life's mission, his life's goal is to achieve moksha, or liberation from the falsehood of life. And sadhus usually have a very clear outer form. They have their own garments. Some of them have dreadlocks. Some of them cover their bodies with holy ash. It could be just the forehead. It could be the whole body. They could be wearing dhotis or a loincloth in different colors. They could be naked. That's the Naga Babas or Naga Sadhus, and they have their own traditions. That's an important aspect of a sadhu. They usually are part of a sadhu tradition, and they have their own ways, codes of behavior and conduct. They are recognized as a part of Indian society, and they are different from sannyasins. So sannyasins are part of, that's a huge concept actually. It's part of one of the 4 stages of life, sannyasa. And basically it means to leave, to live a life of detachment. They leave society, or they leave the attachment to this life, to their emotions, sometimes to their bodies. And they are also part of a tradition, of a lineage. They often dress in saffron robes. They could look exactly like sadhus. They could shave their heads. There are many kinds of sannyasins in India, even women sannyasins and women sadhus. Also, I have a friend who studied female sadhus in the last 2 Kumbh Melas, and that's a very interesting phenomenon. And it's not clear if it's new or if it has always been there, but they stayed in their remote, secluded places, and only now they're coming into public melas, or maybe it was like that in the past. We don't know that yet from the academic part. So the life of a householder, which is what B.K.S. Iyengar chose, is very different from the life of these holy men that are many times recognized as yogis, or the ones who are looking for liberation, sometimes in the way of yoga and sometimes otherwise. But then having yogi householders is a different category because they live in society. They have their own marital responsibilities, and that kind of complicates things. So a sadhu needs to beg for food, and they don't have sometimes where to sleep. But a householder has a lot of other troubles and problems that they have to navigate in their yogic life. In my research, I looked at mothers and how motherhood affects a woman's practice, how pregnancy affects her practice, but then motherhood, I realized, was much of the bigger issue. And B.K.S. Iyengar was, for a short time, a married man, but then after his wife's passing in 73, he was the only one responsible for his family. His older daughter, Gita Iyengar, became a very important person in the household, being the elder daughter. So that's a very big issue that we might just miss if we don't look at the words he's using to emphasize his choice in life, becoming a householder. So now let's go back to the reading. We are still in of course, the introduction. What most people want. I hope I can find it. I'm having problems with this today. Karen, can you unmute?
Yes, and I've kept my video off because my internet keeps dropping out, and I know that if the video's off, I'll have a better chance of staying connected.
Great.
So what most people want is the same. Most people simply want physical and mental health, understanding and wisdom, and peace and freedom. Often our means of pursuing these basic human needs come apart at the seams, as we are pulled by the different and often competing demands of human life. Yoga, as it was understood by its sages, is designed to satisfy all these human needs in a comprehensive, seamless whole. Its goal is nothing less than to attain the integrity of oneness with ourselves, and as a consequence, oneness with all that lies beyond ourselves. We become the harmonious microcosm in the universal macrocosm. Oneness, what I often call integration, is the foundation for wholeness, inner peace, and ultimate freedom. Yoga allows you to rediscover a sense of wholeness in your life, where you do not feel like you are constantly trying to fit the broken pieces together. Yoga allows you to find an inner peace that is not ruffled and riled by the endless stresses and struggles of life. Yoga allows you to find a new kind of freedom that you may not have known even existed. To a yogi, freedom implies not being battered by the dualities of life, its ups and downs, its pleasures and its suffering. It implies equanimity and ultimately that there is an inner, serene core of one's being that is never out of touch with the unchanging, eternal, infinite.
Thank
As
you.
I have, oh, is that it? Yes.
Yes, thank you. I'll just briefly add, and then I'll let you continue reading, is that when Iyengar says freedom implies not being battered by the dualities of life, he rephrases the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali 248, which says that by the practice of yoga, one can go beyond dualities, such as pleasure and pain, cold and hot, and so on. And then when he says that the ultimate goal of yoga, which is freedom, is the realization of the unchanging, eternal, infinite, he means Purusha. So he is talking to us within the context of Sankhya yoga philosophy and constantly referring, and sometimes not even mentioning it, but constantly referring to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So please continue.
On to my yogic journey.
Yes.
Most of those who begin to practice yoga asana, the poses of yoga, do so for practical and often physical reasons. Perhaps it is for some medical problem such as a bad back, a sport injury, high blood pressure, or arthritis. Or perhaps it is as a result of a broader concern to do with achieving a better lifestyle or coping with stress, weight problems, or addiction. Very few people begin yoga because they believe it will be a way to achieve spiritual enlightenment. And indeed, a good number may be quite skeptical about the whole idea of spiritual self-realization. Actually, this is not a bad thing because it means most of the people who come to yoga are practical people who have practical problems and aims, people who are grounded in the ways and means of life, people who are sensible. When I set off in yoga, I also had no understanding of the greater glory of yoga. I too was seeking its physical benefits, and it was these that truly saved my life. When I say that yoga saved my life, I am not exaggerating. It was yoga that gave me a new birth with health from illness and firmness from infirmity.
Yes, thank you. So I will summarize what comes next. It's very interesting if you haven't read it yet. And B.K.S. Iyengar has an autobiography about his whole life journey, and it's fascinating to me. But I just wanted to summarize and then emphasize how he got to practice yoga. Many of us see a pamphlet somewhere or maybe a Facebook post and yoga, I should try that. But his circumstances were completely different. They were quite unfortunate. He was born in 1918 in a small village of Belur in Karnataka, South India, which was a small farming village that didn't even have a school. And at the time of his birth, and especially in the months preceding his birth, there was an influenza epidemic that had devastating impact on India. Actually, India experienced the highest mortality rate from the influenza pandemic anywhere in the world, which estimates of the death toll ranging between 12 and 20 million people. The epidemic caused severe economical disruption as well, which he discusses later, his father's situation. Iyengar's mother, Sheshama, was sick during her pregnancy, and he was born as a weak baby who was often sick. As a young boy, he suffered from malaria, typhoid, and tuberculosis. So TB in childhood can lead to long-term health deficits, even after the disease has been treated, including reduced growth, both in terms of height and weight, and impaired lung function. These things affected how small of a child he was, and it actually contributed to the fact that he started teaching. His students said that he looked less frightening to them. He did not look like an adult man. But then with his lungs issues, he worked on that through backbends. It's in his autobiography. And when he was 5, his family moved to the city of Bangalore, where he lived for only 4 years until his father passed. Then he joined his uncle T. Krishnamacharya, who was teaching yoga at the Mysore Palace. So just imagine a small boy being born into such horrible conditions, terrible conditions, and then moving, constantly moving. And after spending not a long time in Mysore, he moved again. So let's continue reading. I hope I got it right this time. Yes, seeing that.
Seeing that the general state of my health was so poor, my brother-in-law recommended a stiff regime of yoga practice to knock me into shape and strengthen me up to face life's trials and challenges as I approached adulthood. If my brother-in-law also had an eye to my deeper spiritual or personal development, he did not say so at the time. The situation seemed right and the time propitious, and I embarked upon my training at my brother-in-law's yoga school. This was to be a major turning point in my life, the moment when destiny came to meet me and I had the opportunity to embrace it or turn away. Like for so many people, these pivotal moments pass with no great fanfare, but instead become the starting point for years of steady work and growth. So it was that my brother-in-law, Shriman T. Krishnamacharya, became my revered teacher and guru, and took the place of my mother and late father as my effective guardian. One of the duties I was often called upon to perform during this period of my life was to give demonstrations of yoga for the Maharaja's court and for visiting dignitaries and guests. It was my guru's duty to provide the edification and amusement of the Maharaja's entourage by putting his students, of whom I was one of the youngest, through their paces and showing off their ability to stretch and bend their bodies into the most impressive and astonishing postures. I pushed myself to the limits in my practice in order to do my duty to my teacher and guardian and to satisfy his demanding expectations.
Yes, please continue.
At 18, I was sent to Pune to spread the teaching of yoga. There, I did not possess the language nor have community, family, friends, or even safe employment. At the time, all I had was my practice of asana, of yoga postures, not even the breathing practice of pranayama, nor texts, nor yoga philosophy. I embarked upon the practice of asana as a man might set off to sail the world in a craft he could barely handle, clinging to it for dear life and finding only solace from the stars. Although I knew that others had sailed the world before me, I did not have their maps. It was a voyage of discovery. In time, I came across some maps, usually charted some hundreds or thousands of years before, and found that my discoveries corresponded with and confirmed theirs. I continued, heartened and encouraged, to see if I too could make their distant landfalls and better learn how to handle my ship. I wanted precisely to chart every coastline, measure the depth of every sea, happen on beautiful unknown islands, and record each perilous hidden reef or tidal current that threatens our navigation of the ocean of life. In this way, body became my first instrument to know what yoga is. The slow process of refinement started then and continues in my practice to this day. In the process, yogasana brought tremendous physical benefits and helped me grow from a sickly child into a reasonably fit and agile young man. My own body was the laboratory in which I saw the health benefits of yoga. But I could already see that yoga would have as many benefits for my head and heart as it did for my body. It would be impossible to overestimate the gratitude I bear to this great subject that saved and uplifted me.
Thank you. So here, Iyengar shares how he got to yoga, the poor circumstances that led him here. It's not that it was his idea to go to his uncle's place. He did not get a good treatment there. His only solace was that he lived with his sister, Namagiri Amma, which was the wife of T. Krishnamacharya. Krishnamacharya used to beat Iyengar, shout at him, and he did not teach him regularly for a long time. And then he left after just 2 years Pune. He describes this as he fled Mysore to Pune. Like he didn't care, that he knew no one there, that he's going to live in poverty. He just wanted to get out of that situation. So his first teacher was not a good experience for him. And still until the end, he regarded Krishnamacharya as his guru. And what we might miss out, something important here, he mentions this, but briefly. Pune is not just a different city than Mysore. It is a different state. So he left from Karnataka, where they speak Kannada, to Maharashtra, where they speak Marathi. Iyengar is from a Tamil Brahmin family, which means that when he grew up, he knew Tamil, and then he learned Kannada. It's quite common for people living in India to know 2 languages or more. But then talking to his uncle, probably in Tamil, and then out in the street in Kannada, he did not know Marathi. And then when he got to Maharashtra, he had to become a teacher, teaching in a language which is unfamiliar to him. He actually taught in English. Now, when did he have time to learn English? So in school, he could learn between the ages of 6 and 9, and then have some education when he was in his uncle's house. But there, so very scarce English, broken English in his own words. And I want to add on that when he started teaching at the Gymkhana in Pune, his students were from the upper parts of society, bodybuilders, rich people, and they were in better shape than he was. So that was a rough start. Should I add that he did not have any formal education about how to teach yoga? So he had not much of experience in practicing yoga, and he did not have a teacher training for a few years and then assessments to know that can he teach Iyengar Yoga for others. Of course, I'm joking here, but it was hard, and he says so himself. So a lot of struggles in the beginning of his life. So now we get to the last part before our discussion, which about this book and our journey.
This book is about life. It is an attempt to light the way for you and other spiritual seekers. It aims to map out a path that all may follow. It offers advice, methods, and a philosophical framework at a level that even a newcomer to the practice of yoga may grasp. It does not offer shortcuts or vain promises to the gullible. It has taken me more than 70 years of constant application to reach where I am today. That does not mean that you need 70 years to reap the rewards of yoga practice. Yoga brings gifts from your very first day. These benefits can be experienced even by raw beginners who feel something beginning to happen at a deep level in their bodies, in their minds, and even in their souls. Some describe the first gifts as a new feeling of lightness or calm or joy. The miracle is that after 70 years, these gifts are still increasing for me. The benefits of practice cannot always be anticipated. When they come, it is so often as an unexpected bounty in forms one had not expected. But if you think that learning to touch your toes or even stand on your head is the whole of yoga, you have missed most of its bounty, most of its blessings, and most of its beauty.
Thank you. And I will add just the last paragraph of the introduction myself. You do not need to seek freedom in some distant land, for it exists within your own body, heart, mind, and soul. Illuminated emancipation, freedom, unalloyed and unattained bliss await you, but you must choose to embark on the inward journey to discover it. So with this in mind, let's break into discussion groups. I prepared 3 discussion questions for you that I will send you out in the chat as well. The first one is, why did you first come to yoga? If you don't want to discuss what brought you to yoga, you can talk about what brought B.K.S. Iyengar to yoga. And then how does yoga benefit your life? Teachers, you are welcome to share how it benefited the life of your students. And again, if you're uncomfortable to talk about yourself or your students, you can talk about how it benefited B.K.S. Iyengar's life. The last question is, how did your first yoga teacher affect you and your approach to yoga? So again, you can talk about B.K.S. Iyengar and how his teacher made him become a teacher in the most negative way possible, I believe. So we will discuss for about 10 minutes, and then we will meet up again for a closure.
I had a spur in my foot at the age of, I think that time I was 50 years old.
Parimala, let us divide into groups, okay? And then we can all discuss. Everyone, I hope everyone got back from the breakout rooms. I went through the rooms and there were very interesting and inspiring stories. Thank you all for sharing your personal stories about how you got to yoga and then why you stayed, which is usually 2 different things. And some of you even decided to dedicate their lives to this subject and share the teachings onward, which is, of course, admirable. We need to conclude this session. And this is the time for you to open your microphone and say whatever is still on your heart, whether you have some tips for improvement for me. I would be grateful. You can also write to me in WhatsApp or in Facebook Messenger. And just share whatever concluding thoughts you have about the read we had and the discussions you had.
Agi, I'd firstly like to say how grateful I am for all the time and effort and work that you have put in to pull this group together. Yeah, I'm just very grateful that this has come about right here, right now. I think Iyengar is an amazing man. He just kept going, adversity after adversity, and then found all this knowledge and has shared it with us all. So yeah, I'm just really grateful to be on this journey, and thank you, Agi, for all your wisdom and pulling it all together. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You're the best person for the job.
Yeah.
Thank
The
you.
most qualified for the job.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah.
She's the only one qualified for the job. She knows so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the plan is to have 1 week for reading the next chapter and then meeting up again. Again, it will go by a democratic vote and we will choose by majority of votes, and I will try to give as many time slots as possible. And then we'll meet up and possibly have a similar format to that. close reading together, a bit of a chapter summary, and then me giving in some more facts that I hope enrich your reading and make things more clear. And then we can have our discussions. And I hope that this will encourage us to keep on reading and reading and reading, and then enriching ourselves and perhaps our students as well. So thank you very much.
Thank. I have a quick thing. Agi.
Yes.
Do you have the link for this book, the online link? I will be traveling, so I was just wondering if you have
It is available in Amazon as a digital book and an audio book as well.
Okay. The version that I have, I think it's different. That's why I was asking.
It is fine. So
okay.
I will do a better work next time, and
that's okay.
The text will be screened on the screen, the parts that I chose for us to read together. And it's I think the same version that came out with every edition. I believe that the word changes.
Okay. Thank you.
So goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Namaste.
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 Bye.